All right, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, top of the hour. We have our special guest speaker joining us, Miss Jerri Banks with Life on the Road Recruiting. So, just giving her a few moments here to log in, get in here with us. But in the meantime, just wanting to start this off. There we go. So as you enter into the room, if you'll kindly just put in your location, put in your location. I'm sorry. There we go. I am on vacation mode or brain. I'll be in Miami this weekend, starting tomorrow and till Tuesday. And you guys, man, it's a vacation overdue. How are you doing? How are you doing out here? Um, I was just on probably about 20 minutes ago, and it's just a lot, you guys. It's a lot. School starting back up. Today's my baby's first day back. And so I'm here in Dallas, Texas. And thank you for joining us from Georgia and then Missouri. We got someone here from San Antonio. So we're giving Miss Jerri a few moments to get logged in with us. I know she was at her gym. She is a coach, basketball coach. And so she was just kind of making sure that she is going to be able to deliver this information in a clear, concise way. Hey, Dallas. Hey. So in the group, you're going to be able to see everyone's commenting their names as they comment, unless you give StreamYard permission. There you go. Unless you give StreamYard permission, it's not going to tag your name on there. So if you want your name to show up here on this little StreamYard um, feel and such, just let us know. So give us just a moment here to refresh updates. Like I said, waiting on her to come in. I'm looking at my other screen if you're kind of wondering where I'm looking at. So today's topic is really today's whole thing, Wellness Wednesday. It's just about how to, ooh, there's so much to unpack with that one, right? But how to just treat people with respect, first and foremost, um, and where to get connections. So the SAP program, substance abuse program. I'm not going to jump too far in. All right, here's Miss Jerri. Hey, Miss Jerri, I'm adding you to the stream here. Let me hey, New Jersey. Let me get all my stuff aligned, right? And let me jump in. All right. Hey, thanks for joining.
Hey. Yes, it has. How are
There we
you
go.
today?
I'm good. I was just sharing with everyone. I'm in vacation mode. I am already on that plane. I'm in just, and I found out what Hurricane Fred is coming. So I guess Fred is joining the party. I really don't know. I'm still going
Wow, where are you going?
to Miami. And
Oh,
so,
nice.
yeah,
When
it's
do you
our
leave?
tomorrow. It'll be
Oh,
my
yes.
first time. So I'm excited and just already
Yes,
there. This will make, yeah, my first time to South Florida, but I've been to Central and North Florida a couple times
nice.
and such. So
Nice. You'll love it. You'll love it.
thank
Yeah,
you.
look, you're already in vacation mode. I'll be there next week. Look, I'm leaving it to my team. Although we still work, as an entrepreneur, you still have to do some work on
Absolutely.
vacation. So I have my setup spot, but I have a team. It's a good thing to have a team
Oh,
surrounding you.
absolutely. Yes, yes, and
Yes,
yes, I have my counterpart. We're a team of two, but two is better than one.
absolutely,
So she's gonna be
absolutely.
holding it down. Well, I am going to kind of fall back here. I'm still trying to see it in the group part. Want to make the most of everybody's time that does dedicate this time to spend with the group. Like you said, this is quality. This is like A11 type information that, number one, where else do you get it from? There's
That's
so
right.
much stuff out there. To
Yeah.
have it broken down for you is a gem. And number
Mhm.
two, to have it just shared with you to where you can interact. Again, you didn't have to buy a ticket, none of that, and you get
Fact.
front row seat. Front row seating.
Absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely. Yes. Thank you for allowing me to come on your platform.
no
I
problem.
just
Here,
truly
let's do.
appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank
Um,
you. I'm
yes, yes.
gonna go ahead. I'm sorry if I'm talking over you.
No, no, I was just saying I had some internet issues, so I'm glad it worked out. Look, I was in the gym. That's why I was like, okay, because my office is connected to our gym. We have a basketball program, so we do both. In
Mhm.
our office building, the internet was out, so I had to go to the gym. Now I came back over here, so I'm like, okay, look, I'm glad I'm on my phone. I can't share my PowerPoint. I'm on my
Oh,
phone, so we're just gonna make it work.
absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and duck off screen. I'm still looking for it in the group. I don't know why I don't see it in the group, but I do see eyes on us here internally. So I'll
Okay.
keep working on that on my other screen, but I'm going to duck off here and let you take control.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Lotta. Thank you. All right, everyone. I am Miss Jerri with Life on the Road Recruiting. We are a full service truck driver recruitment agency. We recruit for your mega carriers, we recruit for your small carriers, 1, 2, 10 truck companies, all the way to, hundreds of thousands of trucks. Okay. So our company, like I said, is full service. We specialize, okay, we've niched our services with regards to small fleet all the way down to hiring drivers out of the SAP program. So what does that mean? We do a little bit of both. We do SAP program, helping you to hire, and we provide the drivers and all of those sorts of things, but we also teach you how to hire on your own, and source your own drivers that may have come out of the SAP program. So we're going to talk in this webinar today all about SAP. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, kind of go over the SAP program, what it is, how it affects your company, how your company needs to stay in compliance with regards to the SAP program. We'll talk about the SAP driver, what they look like, where their thought process is. And then, at the end, I'll wrap up by just answering, telling you how Life on the Road recruiting can help. Okay. Um, Now, I always like to any consultations that we do with our clients, any webinars, trainings, things like that that we do. I always like to let everyone know that the SAP program information that we share is based on the FMCSA's guidelines. We don't make anything up. We are constantly learning. We have network partners who are experts in our industry in their particular field. The drug testing and consortium expert that we lean on heavily is Ebony Polk with Polk Medical Testing. The SAP professional that we work with who can, answers our questions, who helps us with hiring, things like that. When we have any, anomalies that, we haven't ran into, that is Mr. Charles Irby with Focus 7 LLC. But I always tell all of my clients that ensure that your representative, your designated employer representative, because you have to have one, is up to date and is current on any clearinghouse updates, any clearinghouse changes, FAR changes. Like, you need to ensure that you know all regulations, okay? Don't lean on anyone ever to tell you. Make sure that you're researching those things and on your own as well. Okay. Who am I? I am the founder of Life on the Road Recruiting. I've been in transportation for over 24 years. I started out in private aviation. Worked with a company for many, many years called Universal Weather and Aviation. In that company, I worked with governments, heads of state, celebrities, anybody that had their own aircraft. They were my client. I had a team of about 50 individuals. We did all of their planning. We worked with a lot of government, to get permits for them to fly over different countries, things like that. And so I took that that. So regulations is very heavy in my background when it comes to regulations, understanding them, things like that. And so I transitioned from private aviation to transportation and logistics in 2017. And we've been rocking and rolling ever since then. So our company has a mix of recruiting specialists and full-time recruiters, and we've been helping hundreds of drivers over the years get jobs. Like I said, we've niched down to the SAP program, the SAP Substance Abuse Program, to help drivers that come out of that program get hired. So we've done lots of trainings, speaking engagements, conferences. We have several conferences coming up that we're going to be speaking at and sharing this information. Okay. So what is SAP? Okay, who needs SAP and why is SAP needed? So the SAP program, again, like I said, it's the Substance Abuse Program. It's an FMCSA requirement. It's governed by DOT Rule 49 CFR Part 40. Okay, drivers have to be registered in the clearinghouse. Let me just kind of preface with the clearinghouse. So it started January the 6th, 2020. All right, and everyone that is a commercial license holder, whether it's a Class A, Class B, whether it's a learner's permit, they have to be registered in the clearinghouse. Before the clearinghouse, there was no real way to determine if a driver failed a drug screen or had a refusal or some type of violation associated with drugs or alcohol with one company. They could have it with one company, and then they could go to the company down the street and have the same violation, and nobody's really talking to each other to really know about the violation. So the clearinghouse was implemented, it was established so that there could be a means so that companies could talk to each other. Okay, so you cannot, right now, with the clearinghouse in effect, you cannot fail a drug screen or have a refusal or some type of violation at carrier A and then go down to carrier B and apply. Okay, you cannot do that. So now the clearinghouse monitors drivers, and you have to be shown as active and able to perform safety sensitive functions in the clearinghouse. So that's why your consortium has to check your company has to do a query. It's what we call a query on a driver when you're hiring a driver. That's all part of that driver qualification file. The clearinghouse query has to be performed, okay? Now, if a driver has a violation in the clearinghouse, that means that they have an alcohol test that is a concentration of 0.04 or greater. They have a refusal. Okay, so a refusal can be, it could be that you just flat out say, nope, I'm not going to take this test. It could be that the driver didn't go in the time frame that they were given. It could be that the driver was there, and I've had a lot of drivers tell me this has happened to them, that they were there at, Concentra or Quest or whatever the lab was. They were there, stepped outside to smoke a cigarette or steps outside to take a phone call, and their name got called and they missed their name calling. Okay. And this happens all the time. And a driver gets a refusal. Okay, so you cannot get in there and go step outside and smoke a cigarette. You cannot get at the lab and then go, talk on the phone in the lobby and miss your name being called. If you don't get over there when they call you, there's a window, and then it's considered a refusal. Okay, so that happens, believe it or not, a lot. Okay, and here's the thing. There is no disputing a refusal, okay? There's no refusing it. You got it, you got it. All right. That's that's unfortunate, because I've really seen a lot that, are really just devastated because, they've stepped out, or whatever the case may be. I had a guy just the other day. He said that he had took the test, was sitting there waiting, and got a phone call. The test came back inclusive, like something was off. He had protein or something. They wanted him to drink some more water and take another test. Well, in the meantime, another company that he had been waiting on called him, and he had been waiting on this job, and they called him and asked him if he could come in. He got approved. Can he come in? It was down the street. Go set up the drug screen, things like that. He left, went to the other company, took the drug screen, went directly over to that lab, took the drug screen, passed, started with the company. And then the first place where he was, because that inconclusive was not completed, he got a refusal. So the company that he had been waiting to hire him, they had to fire him because of that refusal that he had gotten. Is it fair? It's not for me to say. It is what it is. Okay. So drivers, and this is why I'm educating drivers especially on our YouTube. I get at least 10 to 15 calls a day from drivers on our YouTube, Life on the Road Recruiting, asking about this, trying to understand what they can and can't do. And so that's why we spend a lot of time educating about that. Another violation that can be reported in the clearinghouse is actual knowledge. So basically, actual knowledge means, say your supervisor catches you drinking alcohol, or catches you smoking weed or something like that. They actually have to see that happen. Okay, not be suspicious, not think. They actually have to see that, and that is defined in 382.107. Okay, actual knowledge. The definition of that is defined in 382.107. And so that is actual knowledge. They have to actually see, they have to observe it. They can't say, oh, I thought you were, smoking weed. Oh, I smelled it in your bag or something like that. They have to actually see it. And so, oh, thank you, Lotta. You're so awesome. And so those are the reported violations that can be put in. And of course, the positive drug screen. So those are things that actually go into the clearinghouse, with regards to drivers that are managed by the clearinghouse and have an actual CDL. So next is, I want to just kind of give you an overview of the SAP program and kind of talk about some numbers and things like that, stats wise. So since January of 2020, January 6th of 2020, when the clearinghouse was implemented, there have been over 80,000 violations reported in the clearinghouse. 80,000 drivers have had a violation in the clearinghouse of some form or fashion. Okay, and they cannot perform safety sensitive functions again until they have gone through the SAP program. All right. 81% of that 80,000 has been positive drug screens. Horrible number, yes, but 81% has been positive drug screens. And again, like I said, there's no disputes. I even have a lawyer that we work very closely with regards to tickets and accidents and, things like that, but they won't touch a violation in the clearinghouse. Okay, so like I said, there is no disputing. I really try to stress that whenever we're having when we're educating, because drivers don't really understand the significance of the having to go through the SAP program. All right. So breaking down the numbers, let's just talk about the month of April. I'm not going to go into deep dive, but in the month of April, I told you what an actual knowledge was. So April of this year, there were 753 actual knowledge violations. That was just the month of April. Okay, I'm just doing April, and these numbers, y'all, can be found on the drug and alcohol clearinghouse and in the FMCSA's website. Okay, and I'll put the link to it in the comments. So what we do as an organization, because we work so closely with SAP drivers, and like that's our expertise, we really try to stay abreast of anything new that's coming out. We subscribe to every single FMCSA newsletter, clearinghouse specific newsletter, updates, amendments, stats, anything like that with regards to the clearinghouse and violations and things like that. We subscribe to it. Okay. Thank you. You are so amazing, girl. Okay, so drug test refusals. Total to date, there have been 10,682 drug test refusals. As far as the month of April, there were 2,462. Okay, so almost 2,500 people drivers in the month of April refused a drug screen or had some type of refusal violation on them. So that is alarming. Okay, that is alarming. And then positives, there were 4,353 positives in the month of April. Okay, very alarming numbers, but it's a reality. It is a reality. That was drugs that I broke down. Alcohol, actual knowledge, like actually seeing them with alcohol in their hand or in their possession or something like that. 25 in the month of April. Alcohol test refusals, there were 29 in the month of April. And then actual concentration of 0.04 or greater, there were 81 in the month of April. So alcohol is not as high, the drug is very high. And I'm going to tell you why, guys, because I talk to a lot of drivers, and what I'm finding is there's a lot that just fail, just flat out fail. Okay. And they admit it. They admit that they messed up and they failed. But some of them, like I talked to a guy on Monday, his failure was he had went to a party. Okay. And he had went to a party, and it was an adult party, and they had a spread of like food on the table. It was a buffet, and it was a adults only party, and they had a spread of like a small dessert table. And he said on the dessert table there was candies and cookies and things like that, and Skittles, and different stuff that they can partake into. When you go to the party, you want to eat and you be merry and have a good time. You're gonna have a little glass of something. But what he did not know is that the Skittles were not real Skittles. Okay, they were happy Skittles. And nobody at the party, like the leaders of the party or whoever hosted the party, they didn't say don't eat the Skittles if you are managed by the FMCSA and DOT. Okay, he ate the Skittles, and then he was in this. And I've never, well, a few times, but this man, I've never really like talked to a driver on the phone crying. Okay. This driver was crying when he was telling me this story. And it was because after he found out, they, and he knew he was, something was wrong. But after he found out, he said he told them, I'm a truck driver. I can't be doing this, and that. And they laughed. They laughed at his, situation. And lo and behold, he got popped 3 days later for a random drug screen. And he knew, like, there was no, it was either get a refusal or go get a positive. He knew he was going to fail it. But it was like, those, y'all, are the stories that I hear. It's unfortunate. I've had stories about pizza. Somebody brought pizza over and the whole family ate the pizza and everybody was, happy. But it's just unreal, some of the things that I hear and see, that our team hears and sees. The other thing is CBD. Okay. CBD is, there's a certain amount, and look, I'm not, let me preface by saying I'm not a drug expert. Okay. I ain't no expert in nothing about drugs. I don't do drugs. But I'm not an expert, but I like to share some of the experiences that I've dealt with. So with regards to CBD, you have to really understand and read the packaging, because there are, and sometimes the packaging doesn't share the trace amounts of THC, because that's what the test is checking. Is checking the trace amounts of THC, and high levels of THC will show up on your drug screen. All right. And so with the CBD, yeah, you can buy it over the counter. You can get it at the grocery store. Walgreens got it. They got it for my back, for my legs, creams, look, candies I can suck on to help me, throughout the day. But drivers, I highly recommend that they don't partake in any of that, because I've had so many drivers that have failed a drug screen because of CBD. And the CBD, and then the one lady was telling me, she said, I was doing CBD for lower back pains. That was the only thing that would help me. It wasn't smoke, it wasn't, edible or anything like that. It was a cream that I used, and it said it didn't have any traces, or the traces were very low, very, very low, that it wouldn't even show up anywhere. So I always tell my drivers, CBD, you got to check it. You got to understand what's in it. Okay. And if you absolutely have to, look, stay away from it. Go take some Tylenol or Aleve. Okay. Aleve is real good. Okay. For your back pain. So I always have to share that with regards to CBD. Now let's talk about how hiring a SAP driver affects your company. All right. So this is like a myth. There's a myth that we always like to dispel. Okay, that one, it affects your insurance, and Lotta can attest to that. Two, that it affects your CSA score. Okay, so I'm going to go into all of those things, but I want to first say that hiring a driver out of the SAP program is a personal company preference. That's what it is. Okay, your company has to make the decision on whether you want to hire drivers out of the SAP program. Okay, and there are things that we highly recommend that you ensure are in place when you're hiring a driver out of the SAP program. Do you have to have these same things in place? Yes. Okay, you have to have a drug and alcohol policy in place. You have to get your DER, your designated employer representative, trained. That you can't just specify that when you have one in the clearinghouse. You need to get them trained. Okay, they need to be trained as a designated employer representative, but so that you're following the FMCSA's guidelines, so that you're doing what you're supposed to do, so that you are operating as a reputable company. Okay, and you're not just out here, running any kind of way. All right. So with regards to insurance, there's no change. Okay. The driver still has to meet the requirements set forth by your insurance. Okay. So if they say, driver needs 2 years experience, driver needs no tickets, no accidents in the last 3 years. Those are all things that insurance companies look at. They have to meet those. Okay. Just because they came out of the SAP program, it does not mean that your insurance is going to go up. Okay. what I do share with regards to the CSA score. So there's no change to the CSA score. All right, now there, um, unless the driver or the carrier violates the seven basics of the CSA score, and I'll just kind of rattle those off. But if you violate unsafe driving, if you violate driver fitness with regards to your the physical and the medical car and things like that, hours of service, vehicle maintenance is one. The crash indicator is another one. Hazmat compliance. And then with regards to the last one, which is the controlled substances and alcohol, your driver is operating his or her truck while under the influence. So that's what the seven basics of the CSA score that I just kind of rattled off. The controlled substance and alcohol one is the one that people really don't really kind of confuse that with the SAP program. It's that the definition of that one is your driver is operating his or her truck while under the influence. Okay. So no changes to your CSA score, no changes to your insurance. It's just you have to ensure that you have a DER, that your DER is trained. You have to ensure that your supervisors get reasonable suspicion training, that you have a reasonable suspicion policy in place. Like I always, any carrier that we're working with, we ensure that those things are in place. Okay. All right. So staying in compliance, I've just kind of went through. I can show you the 7 deadly sins of a driver and another. Yes. Please do. Please share it. Our clients and your viewers definitely need to see that. So staying in compliance. So let's talk about the SAP. All right. So there are 6 steps to the SAP program. All right. So the first step is before the first step is the driver gets the notification that they have a violation in the clearinghouse. So they usually get this from the medical review officer. They may get it from the company. They get an actual letter. I've seen the actual letter. I've seen an email. I've seen it a couple different ways. It's just how the driver specifies to be communicated with when they register for the clearinghouse. So the first step is the driver designates a SAP, and the SAP accepts the driver. Okay, so the driver has to go in the clearinghouse. They have to designate a SAP professional, and then the SAP professional accepts them as a client. Okay, and then steps 2, 3, and 4 are all done by the SAP professional. So what that looks like, basically, the SAP will set up an assessment. Right now, up until the end of this year, 2021, due to COVID, that assessment can be done, or evaluation can be done virtual, like on Zoom or something like that. It doesn't have to be in person. Now, after December, they may go back to doing in-person visits, but right now, that can be done online via Zoom. Okay, so the driver is assessed by the SAP professional. They determine, they listen, ask some questions. I'm not a SAP professional. SAP professional is a substance abuse professional. And so they're qualified counselors, and, they have all these credentials that allows them to be a SAP professional. Now, they have to be certified by the DOT and in the clearinghouse as well in order to be able to use them. So they evaluate the driver. They determine what course of treatment is needed, whether this is habitual, whether it is they're an addict. I mean, whatever it is, they do the evaluation, and they send the driver off for a drug screen. They also have the driver take, I think one of the systems that a few of the SAPs that we've worked with in the past use a system called SASE, and so the driver has to take this assessment in that system, and so this is 2, 3, and 4. So this is all being treated by the SAP professional. So they have to do it. Whatever the SAP says they have to do, that's what they're doing in steps 2, 3, and 4. Okay. In the final step is once they've completed everything that the SAP has them to do, then they're able to return to duty. Okay, so they take a drug screen, and if it's negative, then they're ready to go to the next step, which is step 5 and 6. Okay, so step 5 and 6, that's when the driver's ready to return to duty. Okay, step 5 and 6 is completed by the carrier, by the hiring carrier that's going to hire them. Okay. And step 5 and 6, so essentially step 5 is you accept the driver. All right, you say, okay, driver, we want to hire you. We want you to work with us. There's some things that you as the company has to do in the clearinghouse. And then you have to send the driver for 2 drug screens. Okay, there's 2 that you have to do. And I've talked to a couple of carriers that, have tried to, hire on their own and things like that. And that's great. We encourage that, but ensure you know what you're doing. Okay. Because it's very imperative, because if you get audited and you didn't follow the proper appropriate steps, you'll be in big trouble. All right. So the first drug screen is the pre-employment. Okay. So everybody, no matter who it is, they got to get done. They got to do the pre-employment. And then the second drug screen is the return to duty. That's what they call it, return to duty drug screen. All right. So the driver has to do 2 drug screens before they can essentially work for your company. They have to be negative. And then in step 5, you mark that the driver is completed the drug screens. You've got the paperwork. You want to be communicating with the SAP. Okay, a good SAP will kind of be help you throughout this process as well, so that driver can get back to performing safety sensitive functions. All right. So step 5, that driver's taking those 2 drug screens. They have passed them. They ready to get back to work with you. All right. Step 6. Okay, so step 6 is the final step, and that step 5 that you're doing, it might take a couple days, might take a week, but step 6, it could be a year, it could be 2 years. Okay, and so step 6 is the follow up treatment plan. So that's, you get this notification from the SAP, and the SAP lets you know, okay, so in my evaluation, Johnny needs, he needs some weekly or bi-weekly, sessions, substance abuse sessions, or, I don't think he needs sessions. I just think he needs this many randoms. Okay. So for the first year, the DOT mandates that it's no less than 6. Okay. But SAP may say, you know what? I want Johnny to do 10 randoms. I want him to do 10 randoms. And it's over the course of 12 months. All right. It may be 12 months. It may be 24 months. It may be 36 months. It is whatever the SAP assigns in the follow-up treatment. Okay. So the drivers that we've worked with, we normally seen like, 6 to 8 drug screens in the course of a year. Now, does the driver or the company pay for those? It's at your discretion. I've seen carriers that, have passed that fee on to the driver. They just take it out of the driver's check. I've seen carriers that, they just want that driver, and they want that driver. And so they'll take care of it themselves. So it's a company discretion. It's at your carrier's discretion on whether you want to charge that. Thank you so much. So yes, the average cost of a drug screen, $75 a test. Now, with regards to that follow-up treatment plan, you as the carrier have to ensure that it's adhered to. You have to work with your third party consortium. You are not allowed to announce the test. It has to be a true random. Okay. So the driver does their randoms, and then if they have any, you're in that consortium. So if they have any others that fall that he has to do as well in addition to those, then the driver has to do those as well. So it's your responsibility to ensure that the driver does those randoms, that they meet the obligations that were set forth by the SAP for the treatment plan. Once that treatment plan is done, it's completed, it's a year later or 2 years later, however long it takes, step six is done. Okay. The violation will stay in the driver's clearinghouse for 5 years. That's literally how long they keep it in there. Now, I want to talk about the mega carriers, okay? And I always tell my small carriers that you want to align. If there's something that you're doing, you want to, whether it's an orientation, whether it's, road test, like anything like that, you want to align yourself with what the big boys are doing. Okay, that's who you want to strive for, because they're doing something right, because they still here. Okay. And so with regards to SAP, we have 2 carriers, all right, that we work with that are 2 that we work with, and then there's about 4 or 5 that I refer a lot of drivers to, in addition to these carriers. So, but the majority of the companies, the larger carriers, they do a hair drug screen. Okay. And so one carrier is Variant, and the other, and I'm just going to name 2 that I know, the other one is US Express. So those carriers will take a driver out of the SAP program. Now, their requirement is, that you want to, the driver has to be out of the SAP program at least 120 days, which is 4 months. 4 months. So, and the reason why is because their pre-employment, and companies have this option. You guys have this option as well. Their pre-employment is a hair drug screen, which averages about $200. I always tell drivers it's about $200 for a hair drug screen. And my carriers, I let them know it's $200. Okay. So their pre-employment is a hair drug screen. And so the driver has to do the pre-employment, and they have to do the return to duty, which is a urine. And so they'll take a driver out of the SAP program, but they want them to be out at least 4 months, because they feel like by then you should be able to pass that hair drug screen. Okay. And so the large carriers are taking drivers out of the SAP program, but a lot of them are not really equipped to handle the volume of drivers. Okay. So just, the month of July alone, our agency was able to help 10 drivers get hired on with some of these large carriers. Okay. And so that's a lot. That's a lot. And so it's just again, your company preference. Whether you want to take a driver out of the SAP program, there's a lot of different, and variant. Like, let me just stop, because I'm glad you put that in there, Lotta. Let me just stop and talk about variant real quick, because they do take drivers out of the SAP program, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff that they're doing that smaller carriers really need to follow and align themselves with, because variant will be the face of the future. Variant, their company will be the employer of choice that these drivers select, and it's for a couple of reasons. Their technology is state of the art. It is on point. They have a dispatch They have a selfless dispatch, so they don't have actually the drivers actually don't have a dispatcher. They have a system that dispatches them. Their average length of haul is 700 miles, so they have drivers that want to run. Okay, they don't want to stop and go and stop and go. Their drivers are running. All right. They have a mileage based pay system, and which I know a lot of small carriers do percent, which I love percent, but their mileage based pay system is very competitive, probably top of the line because they get the miles, not just, you paying 99 cents a mile to a driver and they getting 500 miles. No, they're getting the miles. They're averaging anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 miles a week. Okay. Their drivers with 1 year, they pay them 56 cents a mile. Their drivers with 2 years or more, they pay them 60 cents a mile. Other thing is, sorry, I had a call come in. The other thing is with Variant is their drivers, and you can go look this up on YouTube, okay? Their drivers, there's one driver that has the logo of Variant tattooed on the back of his neck, okay? There's some Kool-Aid that they're drinking and pouring over in the terminal for this company that all the drivers love it. I talked to a lot of drivers. I've sent a lot of drivers over there. Yes, Variant is US Express's sister company. So they're trying to change the image of US Express, and they are it's like US Express is the Marriott Hotel and Variant is the Ritz-Carlton. Okay, where you want to work, where you want to stay, where you want to go on vacation, you want to stay at the Ritz-Carlton. And so that's the level of service that they're giving, and they're treating their employees like people. They are, if they have to turn their home time in, like, for 14 days in advance. They get home every other weekend, but they have to turn their home time in by a certain time. And if the driver says they want to get home on the 19th, they're going to have that driver home by the 17th. Okay, and let them do their 3 or 4 days, and then they're going to send them back out there. Whatever the driver wants, when I set them up for orientation, Variant will do. If the driver says, I don't have enough money to give me a refrigerator for my truck, well, the truck's coming refrigerator. I don't have enough money to fill my refrigerator. They give them a $100 gift card to go to Walmart and buy whatever they need for their truck, toiletries, food, whatever. I need a pot set. Like, they are doing what it takes to get drivers, good drivers, okay? Good drivers, because I don't take everybody. And so I had to stop and say that because you gotta align yourself in order to be successful in this industry. In order to have longevity, you have to find out what people are doing, what companies are doing that are successful. Okay. Don't just, follow the people that's, out there, selling courses and, moving trucks and all this other stuff that's not, doing it on a grand scale. You need to follow somebody that's really doing it on a very large scale. So let me get back into SAP. So, I know our time is winding down. There's a couple of things that, you want to ensure that you're doing from a compliance perspective. That's having your drug and alcohol policy in place. That is the DER. I can't stress that enough. Your reasonable suspicion supervisory training, your DQ file is completed. It's got to be on file for 3 years. Your third party consortium, you got to have one. Don't be just trying to do everything yourself. Get you a consortium. That way the drivers are going through a pool and the random, drug screens are getting done. And those 2 drug screens, I gotta make sure I specify and say that. So, and you can pass those costs on to the driver. Okay, you can pass those costs on to the driver. And speaking of driver, let's talk about the driver. So, drivers out of the SAP program, and let's talk about their psyche, their thought process, where they are coming out of that SAP program. Because like I said, I get at least 10 to 12 calls a day just from YouTube from a SAP driver, because we really put ourselves out there that we are the expert and we do know, about SAP, the SAP program and how to get you back to work. Um, Drivers are very ready to get back to work. I've got drivers, I talked to a driver yesterday. He been out of work since February because, well, not in trucking. Okay. So he had went and got something else because he was like, I ain't nobody gonna hire me. I'm just gonna leave trucking, And so he found my video on YouTube and he was like, Miss Jerri, it was like when I saw your video, it was like God, because I thought I wasn't gonna be able to drive again. I thought nobody would hire me after coming out of the SAP program. So I just gave up and I went to the warehouse down the street and got a job. But when I heard your video, it helped me understand that it wasn't the end of the world. Okay. And that's what I try to help the drivers understand. You make a mistake. Um, Yes, I get it. You made a mistake, okay? But it's time to get back up. It's time to not do whatever it was you was doing, okay? And then get back to driving and performing safety sensitive functions using that little plastic card in your wallet that's worth its weight in gold, okay? But they're humble. They are very humble. They are willing to commit, okay? That's a big thing, all right? So a lot of my drivers, what we say is our company, what we say is that you we will replace if the driver doesn't stay 30 days, okay, we'll replace the driver. We'll get you a new driver. All right. However, what I recommend is that in addition to that 30-day, so that you can lock that driver in. I have drivers willing to sign, ready to sign contracts that they'll work with you for 6 months or work for your carrier for the length of their follow-up treatment plan. Okay, so how else better to lock a driver in than getting a driver that's ready to run. Okay, because think about it, that driver that's been off since February, his wife, and she was used to making a certain amount of money in trucking, and now he over at the warehouse slinging boxes, making like $10 or $12 an hour. It's a big decrease in the money that we bring into the house. So if he not working, and then if he was driving a truck, had to go through the SAP program, they had to spend money for SAP because the SAP, just to go through the SAP program, it ranges anywhere from $500 to $2,000 for a driver. Okay, $500 to $2,000 for the driver, and the SAPs want their money up front, or at least like a large percentage up front. Okay, because so the driver is ready. Okay, they are ready to work. The majority of my drivers, I have a girl right now that says she'll stay out 3 months. She got 3 years. She want to stay out 2 and 3 months at a time because she doesn't have anywhere to live, and she is ready to get back to running, and she'll live in the truck. They usually don't make the same mistake twice, okay? Because you got your kids looking at you crazy, you got your wife like, and
All right. I think she got disconnected. So lots of great information. Here she comes. All right, here we
yeah.
go. Go ahead.
All right, sorry about that. No, I'm gonna wrap up because look, it's 5 more minutes, but so just know that drivers are ready to get back to running after coming out of the SAP program, but you want to align your company up to ensure that you're following the guidelines, that you're doing everything right, and you know where to find a SAP driver. Because look, right here, Life on the Road Recruiting, we got look, I got a board full. I don't know if you can see it back there, but I got a board full of drivers waiting on jobs. Okay, but we source the drivers. We consult with you on the SAP program. We follow the process. We help you navigate through everything and follow you throughout that entire process. We collaborate with all of our network partners to help you successfully hire a driver and get your truck moving, okay, and keep your truck moving. I have an owner who started in this game last year and bought a truck. And he doesn't have a CDL, but he bought a truck. I hired his first driver. It wasn't a SAP driver. I hired his second driver. It wasn't a SAP driver, but he's on truck number 6, okay? And driver 3, 4, 5, and soon to be driver 6, they're all SAP drivers, and they're all still with him running and happy, okay? So if you're interested and if you want to know more about how our company can help you, how we can hire a SAP driver for your organization, give me a call. It's probably best to email because our phone rings all day long. If you want to talk to me, just email and I'll call you back or shoot us a text. Okay, so my direct number is 832-384-5689. Email, you can email us at recruiters, recruiters at lotrrecruiting.com. Again, that's recruiters at lotrrecruiting.com. And I'm Miss Jerri. Thank you so much, Lotta. I'm Miss Jerri. My direct line is 832-384-5689. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for your time. And Lotta, thank you so much for your platform. I hope it was some valuable information.
Absolutely. Can't you went so fast with your number. Repeat that one more time for me.
832
Mm-hmm.
384
384
5689.
All right, I'm going to share that here as we kind of hold the line just for a few more moments, if you could.
Thank you.
And so there's the website. There's her direct number, you guys. Again, we're giving you direct access content. And Miss Jerri is on and very active in the group. And so, you could reach out to her, schedule a time to go deeper into this. I know it was tons of information, but that's just because, there's a need. Whenever you see again, I'm just really big on really making sure that you're not just doing what everyone else is doing, but you're actually meeting a need, because that's how you get to differentiate yourself. Oh, okay. So hold on. I'm getting in those calls here coming in. I tell you. Okay. That's how you get to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. You become I like how you mentioned the employer of choice. You're not just someone or that people deals with, but you are a sought after professional. And so that's really what you should do. So wealth of information. I don't know why it keeps coming through, you guys, for real. If I can't answer a call, I'm sorry, that threw me totally off. Get back on here to finish this out. So, lots of information. I do want to share some resources in closing. Everything's also in the chat. All of these are recorded. They're shared in the group. You can always look for this in our media tab. So make sure you're checking out the media tabs. Make sure you are connected to us, following and subscribing to the YouTube channels. So be sure to do that. I'm trying to make sure I go through and see if there's any questions.
My good comments.
Right here.
Thank y'all.
So if you have a question, an immediate question, we're going to kind of reserve about 2 to 3 more minutes because we are right here at the top of the hour. If you would like to get a initial question answered right here and now, but like I said, make sure that you are connecting. So the process is described to you. As you heard, there's a lot of moving parts to it. And so that's what I want to share this website real quick as I open up my share. And you were giving me a run for my fingers. You were so I will share that here. So let me get on here and kind of reduce the comment. All right. So verified is a resource. The FMCSA, there's again, when I said just the attention to the need. So
Mm-hmm.
Verify First is a company, again, that I work with personally. They're a good resource that doesn't kind of
Yes.
charge you the contracts that many times you have to have in order to access this type of information. So on here, I have my website. So you can always go to MyOwnLaneConsultants.com, click on services, and I have this listed here. But when you go here, it's just asking you for some information, and then they'll contact you and have a full-on consultation. They do the pre-employment screening. So many people
Mm-hmm.
miss that part, and it's such a timely
Yes.
part because you can't go back and rehire somebody once they're already working and moving for you. You have to do
Right.
it in timely order, timely fashion. So if you're not familiar with how to do it, you're overwhelmed with doing it, because in addition to hiring drivers, you're still having to take care of just finding loads, everything on that. That's
Right.
why, it's very much a team thing. But here is a resource for that. Just a quick tab. Excuse me. So Miss Jerry mentioned, going back, being familiar with how to check on FMCSA. So these links are shared here in the group, but just so you know what it looks like when you click on the link, when you pull it open, you can go and look at regulations at any time, and they're broken down and they have interpretations in plain English. So
Mm-hmm.
FMCSA
Mm-hmm.
actually does a really great job of really
Yes.
breaking it down if you ever get confused, to go back and look at the source. Here
Mm-hmm.
again is the Drug
Mm-hmm.
and Alcohol Consortium. You can sign up. It tells you how. There's some Q&A. There's, if you need to contact FMCSA, they are readily available. With SAFER, if you're not familiar with SAFER, again, FMCSA, SAFER is the Safety and Fitness Electronic Records. You have to kind of have a record to go into, but to look at the CSA scores, the carrier safety, I don't know what the A stands for. The scores, though, on safety, you go put in, the carrier's information. You could check this out. This is public record. This is what
Mm-hmm.
other
Mm-hmm.
brokers and so forth are
Yep.
looking at in regards to dealing with you. They can't look
Yes.
at your driver information. They look at your carrier's information, you as a company, to make decisions on, are you reputable? Can you take this information? All that stuff. So I'll do another teaching on that. Again, my website, as well as just a closer look at the verified. So I didn't see any other questions come up. Let me get both of us on here as I close out. Did you see any other questions? I'm just kind of just
No,
jumping
I didn't
in.
see
Okay.
anything come out. One thing I wanted to mention is with regards to, they were initially going to connect the states, the licensing, like the licensing agencies with the clearinghouse, and they have pushed that back to January of 2023 to allow the states and the clearinghouse and everyone to get their systems in order to be able to connect the states with the clearinghouse. So giving them the ability to, when a driver renews their license, if they're prohibited, then they're not able to renew their license. So that they want to, they're going to be doing, but not until 2023. Now, will that affect the insurance at that time? I don't know. But right now, it does not.
Great point. Great point. There's actually a lot coming down the pipeline with FMCSA and their attention to drivers. I mean, and
Yes.
that's actually a topic that we'll be going into with a official attorney. We have Miss Ashley.
Yes.
I keep trying to give her Ashley Banks because I think I'm thinking of Fresh Prince. It's Ashley Baker.
Okay.
So Ashley Baker, part of our group, she's going to lead our discussion about the infrastructure bill that was just passed. But in
Yes.
addition to that, driver CDL requirements are changing as of next year. A lot of this is just now coming down the pipeline. It does still take a year or two for it to
Yeah.
like officially hit and everybody has to comply. But being ahead of the curve, being
Yep.
an innovator and not a
Yep.
follower is how,
Yep.
again, business strategy 101. You have to be able to
Absolutely.
be different. You have to know what's going on. as it's going on, not
Yep.
afterwards because you got busted, but you need to have
True.
known it was ahead of time. So,
True.
a lot of people, just think about it. If you are a dispatcher, if you're offering those type of consultation services, because you're dealing mostly with the driver, but as a carrier, if this is the role you are filling, just know you are now responsible to wear all these hats. Now, re, connecting and getting your resources aligned is the wisest way
Mhm.
to do it, because
Mhm.
we are only one person literally, and trying to
True.
like get all this in as you're processing the money and all that, because the money comes from you by yourself, you can't
That's
outsource
right.
that. But as Miss Jerry said at the very beginning, as a business owner, congratulations, you are now all things. And so
That's right.
you are responsible to train your drivers, even though they have CDLs and you may not. It is your responsibility as the carrier.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
make sure as you are researching, evaluating all this, that we do not lose sight of our most important asset, which is the driver, the human
Yes.
being that is
Yes.
really literally running your business on your behalf,
Absolutely.
for you, part of you are, the driver, all those things. But that's the irreplaceable part. The money, it's gonna go up and down. That's just business.
Mhm. Mhm.
The equipment, it goes up and down. That's vehicle maintenance. But the drivers, you want to make sure you have a good handle on how to really maintain the human resource, because as it goes up and down, as you're going through growing pains, we understand, but that's one of those things. Reputation is really hard to rebuild once you kind of
Yeah.
get that reputation of being someone that doesn't know what they're doing. You just
Yes.
don't want that
Yes.
as a first impression, because everything
Mhm.
is that
Mhm.
steep uphill drive from there. But
Mhm.
thank you so
Absolutely.
much for your passion. You could definitely tell you're very invested in the lives of these drivers. That's always why I love
Yes.
connecting with
Yes.
you.
Yes.
That's very apparent from your words, your presentation, and the
Oh,
services you
thank you.
do
You made
in
me cry.
connection. Don't you do that? I cry at a moment. Yes, and Precious just commented on that too. It's the human capital,
Yes.
because
Yes.
yeah,
It's
the true
powerful,
value of
precious.
that, even though you can kind of monetize it, you can assign a
Mhm.
certain number, but
Yeah.
really it is priceless,
Yeah.
and like you said, we could talk on and on about that.
Yes.
But
All day
you
long. All
guys,
day
I
long.
I appreciate your time and
Thank
watching.
you. Thank
I will
you.
share this for your for distribution as well. Any questions, please reach out to somebody. This is not something meant for you to watch this video and be like, all right, I got it. Because just those 6 steps are involved steps. As Miss Jerry said in the beginning, she has people in positions that this is what they do. Your SAP professional is not someone who just started this overnight. They
Right.
are a clinical counselor, with
Yes.
their credentials, specializing on top of finishing and becoming a counselor. They had to become a
Yes.
drug counselor. They had to
Yes.
sign up for the
Yes.
lots of levels to it. So please make sure you are vetting your professional team that you choose to come on board to help you out with all these check marks. So I think I've said enough today. But thank you again
Thank
so much.
you. Thank
You
you. My
guys, we
pleasure.
are
My pleasure.
closing out. And look, I play with my little button. Check out my little closeout video. There we go. So we'll see you next time on some authentic
Awesome.
content here in this group, the Minority Women in Logistics.
I
Have a
love
good
it. Thank
day.
you so much. Have a good one.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye.